The secret of Eden revealed. Don't miss the truth about the fall of man. Imagine this: you're standing face to face with God in a lush, pristine garden, not a distant figure in the heavens, but a deeply personal guide, offering wisdom for your every step. This isn't just a story of ancient times, it's your story. But what happens when one small seed of doubt fractures that connection? Could the tale of Eve and the forbidden fruit reveal something profound about our own lives, something we've overlooked? Let's embark on a journey to uncover the truth. Before the fall, connected to God as the master. Before the fall, the Garden of Eden wasn't just a physical paradise. It was a sacred classroom, a divine sanctuary where every moment pulsated with the presence of God. He wasn't merely a distant ruler perched on a celestial throne, he was the master teacher, walking among his creation with purpose and love. Eve and Adam didn't just live in Eden, they thrived in a state of unparalleled spiritual connection. Imagine a world where every breath is filled with divine inspiration, every word carries eternal wisdom, and every step you take feels guided by an unseen yet intimately familiar hand. In that sacred garden, God's presence wasn't abstract. It was tangible, like the morning dew that kissed the petals or the warmth of sunlight that caressed the earth. His guidance was deeply personal, tailoring lessons for every soul's growth and enlightenment. Eve wasn't just a figure from history, she represented the feminine essence of all evolving souls. Pure, curious, and yearning for spiritual growth, she was a reflection of our own inner desires to learn, understand, and ascend. God's instructions were not arbitrary, they were deliberate. Each word spoken in the garden was a thread in a tapestry of divine understanding, woven with care to nurture the soul's journey toward its highest potential. To walk hand in hand with God and hear His wisdom whispered directly into the heart, can you imagine the depth of that experience? The serpent's doubt losing trust in God's guidance. And then the serpent appeared. Its presence was subtle but insidious, a cunning embodiment of doubt and the Antichrist consciousness. It didn't roar or shout. It didn't need to. With a whisper, it planted the smallest seed of distrust: you shall not surely die. That one phrase was enough to fracture Eve's trust in the divine. The serpent's words weren't just about a piece of fruit, they were an invitation to question God's authority, a subtle push to rely on human judgment over divine wisdom. And isn't that the very struggle we face today? When doubt creeps in, it's rarely loud. It's quiet, almost comforting, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, we know better than the guidance we've been given. What happens when we entertain doubt? We become a house divided against itself. Instead of stepping forward in faith, we hesitate, we second-guess. The serpent's lie wasn't just an act of disobedience, it was a turning point, a severance of the direct connection to the divine teacher in the garden. Separation and the ache of loss. In that fleeting moment of doubt, something profound was lost. The direct bond with God, that intimate, effortless connection slipped away. It was like a veil had been drawn, obscuring the clarity and warmth of divine presence. What was once a harmonious relationship became strained. The gentle, nurturing voice of the teacher seemed farther and fainter. Instead of standing confidently in the fullness of divine presence, Eve, and by extension, all of us, began to wander. This separation wasn't merely physical, it was spiritual. It created a void, an ache deep within the soul. That ache is universal. It's the longing we feel in moments of silence, the emptiness we try to fill with distractions, achievements, or possessions, but nothing truly satisfies. The soul remembers what it had, a connection so real and whole that its absence feels like an unhealed wound. The true nature of learning from God. Before the fall, learning from God wasn't about blind obedience. It was about trust, a trust rooted in the understanding that every command, every lesson was designed for growth. God's instructions in the garden weren't arbitrary rules, they were opportunities to expand consciousness, to draw closer to the divine essence within. Faith was the cornerstone of this process. Not a passive, unquestioning faith, but an active, dynamic trust grounded in the pursuit of wisdom. As Proverbs reminds us, with all thy getting, get understanding. This was the essence of the divine classroom: to challenge, to inspire, and to elevate the soul. But doubt disrupts this delicate process. It clouds judgment, stalls progress, and leaves us stranded. Without trust, the lessons go unlearned and the soul's growth is hindered. Eve's moment of doubt wasn't just a personal failing, it was a universal cautionary tale about the consequences of losing faith in divine guidance. Doubt's aftermath stalled growth. When we question divine guidance, we halt our journey toward enlightenment. Instead of stepping boldly into the unknown, we cling to what is familiar. We resist change, paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. Without trust, the path forward becomes obscured. Each moment of hesitation deepens the separation, widening the gap between who we are and who we were created to become. The longer we linger in this state, the harder it becomes to hear God's voice, to feel His presence, and to remember the connection that once defined us. This is the tragedy of doubt. It doesn't just stall our progress, it blinds us to the beauty and potential of what lies ahead. Yet even in this state, a quiet yearning remains. The unending longing. Beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and pride, a quiet voice persists. Can I return? Can I once again learn directly from God? This longing is a compass pointing back to the unity that was lost. It's a reminder that no matter how far we wander, the garden is never completely out of reach. The soul remembers. It remembers the clarity of divine wisdom, the warmth of God's guidance, and the joy of walking side by side with the Master. That memory becomes a beacon, a glimmer of hope that draws us back toward the possibility of reunion. Finding the way back, trusting God again. The path to reunion begins with trust. To reconnect with God, we must cultivate humility and openness. It's not about knowing all the answers or having everything figured out. It's about daring to follow divine guidance, even when it defies logic or understanding. Each step of faith is a step toward reclaiming what was lost. With time, the warmth of God's presence returns. The clarity of His wisdom becomes evident once more. The ache of separation begins to fade, replaced by the joy of reunion. It's not an instant transformation, but a journey, a process of rediscovering the divine connection that has always been within us. A story of all souls. Eve's fall isn't just her story, it's our story. We once stood in God's direct presence, learning from Him as a master teacher. Doubt pulled us away, but the longing for that connection has never faded. By choosing faith over fear and openness over pride, we can rediscover the garden within us. We can walk once again with God, embracing the divine growth that awaits on the endless horizon of our journey. The secret of Eden isn't about a lost paradise, it's about a path back to unity. And that path begins with trust. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.